because the anti-vaccine people trigger a whole response, which is they must be crazy and everything they're saying is crazy. So let's talk about the science.
We could argue about vaccinations, but I'm not going to. The fact is there are in the world quite a lot of people who are obsessed with things, who are fanatical about them, and who are not terribly particular about facts. And as soon as they appear on the stage next to you, then you've had it, because while you're explaining, as James Carville once said, you're losing. While you're saying, look, I'm not these people, I'm not the same. All of the television watching millions see is that you're sharing a platform with nutcases and your cause is lost.
Right.
And it's been a disaster. I just beg them to stay away.
I think you're referring to the protest that happened in London week and a half ago, or 2 weeks ago.
No, it was the Saturday before last.
Right. And that was technically, originally maybe a protest against masks, lockdown measures, but it ended up being maybe co-opted by lots of different groups.
Well, they said, you have a demonstration. But there were people on the platform who were, I think, tending in that direction, and of course, banners and flags in the crowd, from which you can't then dissociate yourself. And it was a shame, because the fundamental message that people are getting extremely worried about their loss of both personal liberty and economic future and all the rest of it was destroyed by it, because there were important things to be said, and normal concerned human beings could have been at that demonstration, and they would have possibly felt themselves a bit uncomfortable then.
An arrest was made. Piers Corbyn was arrested.
Well, the arrest was afterwards, but the fascinating thing about the arrest was it was made on the basis of a law which had been made about 24 hours before the demonstration began, and a law which had been made not by Parliament, by what I was taught through all my childhood and school days, the process of green paper, white paper, first reading, second reading, committee stage, House of Lords revision, back to the Commons. All that didn't happen. A minister, who I think is mainly qualified as being a former computer software salesman, issued a decree. And at some point in the next 2 or 3 weeks, Parliament will retroactively vote to approve it on the basis of a law made in 1984 to deal with quarantines for diseases. Now, here's a fascinating thing. In all the history of mankind, quarantine has been about confining the sick to prevent them from infecting the healthy. For the first time ever, as far as I know, in human history, we have a quarantine which confines the healthy. Never been done before. So the legal basis of this, the 1984 Public Health Act, is very skimpy. And if we had a proper functioning Parliament, and frankly, if we had properly vigilant courts, I think this would already have been substantially challenged, but we don't. And also we don't seem to have, for the most part, a questioning media. So again, it just happens. Parliament in this country is dead. I call it the dead parrot Parliament. It's dead because it does nothing. It's a parrot because it repeats what the government tells it to.
And you wrote in detail in your column yesterday, I think, about this. And as you said, they can kind of concoct this legislation with they don't have to explain it. It doesn't have to be debated, and it can happen. And under lockdown, there were many, many laws and acts that were created
again and again, day after day after day, out they came, and they were changed almost willy-nilly. And it's government partly by decree and partly, as Lord Sumption, a former Supreme Court judge here, has said, partly by televised press conference. This is not a functioning law-governed democracy anymore. This is a tin pot television despotism.
Now contrast that protest to the other protests we saw weeks ago with Black Lives Matter protests. Were those treated differently because of politics, ideology?
The new law had not been made at that time. The law which enabled a police officer of no rank at all to impose a fine of £10,000, a substantial sum, on Piers Corbyn. Now, that law didn't exist then. I think there are criticisms to be made of the lack of even-handedness of the policing of various different types of demonstration. Yes, but that particular law was made, and you can draw whatever conclusions you like, that was made 24 hours before the demonstration to which it was first applied.
Right, and I watched some of those speeches given in Trafalgar, and I was shocked to see him pulled away by police after, because I didn't see any causation or correlation between what
Well,
he
no,
said.
no doubt he would have gone perfectly quietly fast as well. It's you look at this and you see the events in Melbourne in Australia over the weekend. The extraordinarily heavy-handed policing of a quite small demonstration in a war memorial park in Melbourne. You think, look at this. What is this? It doesn't look like a free society.